Hello, I'm Frnatzis. We're now going to look at common mistakes of Tai Chi beginners. The first one is this idea of all or nothing. I do it perfectly or I don't do it at all, which is basically a failure strategy. You want to fail in anything in life, say, if I don't do it perfectly, then I will quit. That basically said, if you even start with something like that, it said you wanted to quit from the beginning, so why'd you bother to do it? So the first thing is this. With this, you have to realize that you don't want to do the weekend warrior bit. You don't do anything for the whole week, and then on Saturday or Sunday you try and do 3 hours and your body breaks in half and you're sore and you're messed up, and then you don't want to practice for a month because you hurt so much from that one day you went crazy. The idea of doing it again is just really, really unpleasant. So it's not all or nothing. It's moderation. The 70% rule. Build it up. Do 5 minutes, then do 10 minutes a day, then do 15. But do it. My real advice to it is that, one way to start is just practice as much as it makes you really, really, really get off on doing it. Don't push yourself to where it becomes really, really difficult unless you just have that kind of a personality that can persist in things when they are difficult. But that doesn't fit a lot of people, especially in instant gratification society. So the second thing is that there's a big thing in Tai Chi that is helpful. If you get a good teacher, they can teach you. And I'll just show you this. Your body is always moving between getting in some way bigger and smaller. So for example, look at my arms right now. Well, you could say that's getting smaller and you could say that's getting bigger. But it's also, I'll just take the yang for a moment. I'll take one kind. There's so many kinds of yang forms. But here, just watch. What's my body doing? It's getting bigger. It's extending, right? What's it doing now? It's shrinking. It's getting smaller. What's it doing now? It's getting bigger. What's it doing now? It's getting smaller. It's getting bigger. It's getting smaller. It's getting smaller. It's getting smaller again. Now, it's going to get bigger. So there's this constant sense of opening and closing. You're getting a little bit smaller and a little bit bigger. Your elbows and your armpits getting a little bit more open, a little bit less open. Even if you do more traditional and you're very, very tight like this, you want to do something still, you just got smaller. You just got smaller. You got smaller, and then you got bigger. So this sense of that, this breathing, almost as though your body gets a bit big and small. Now, you can over-exaggerate this, of course, but at least to have some sense of that rather than just kind of everything's collapsed in and you just kind of stay collapsed in like a crab or something. You need to let your body open up. You need to let your body breathe. Now, another big mistake beginners make is they don't pay attention to their breath. And that doesn't mean, when I do this movement, I inhale. When I do that, I exhale. When I do this, I inhale. That's later, and there are different ways it's done. It's done when your arms extend, you inhale, and when your arms come back, you exhale. And there are other ones when your arms extend, you exhale, when your arms come back, you inhale, and both of these exist. And that has a lot to do with regular and reverse breathing. But the bigger thing is, people don't pay attention that when they're practicing to letting their breath relax. And that's why when people practice, let they get to a point. And Tai Chi actually can work the inside of your body if you really do it correctly. You feel like you're being stretched in every direction. You don't want to end up with these, and your breath is getting like all these kind of like vibrations and everything in it. You always want to relax your breath so you have a sense that your breath is relaxing your body. And relaxing your body is relaxing your breath, so they form a circle. That's a very important thing. So beginners need to pay attention to relaxing the breath. Next thing is your mind is not relaxed. Okay, so you're doing these movements, but if I would play theater, this is kind of how your mind is. Yeah. And you're making faces, and your mind is getting tense, and your facial muscles are clenching. Your body's clean. It has to be a thing about you really want to realize that relaxation also means the mind relaxing. Now, another thing is this. Tai Chi's got a lot of movements, right? And a big problem is an old phrase that says you can't see the forest for the trees, or when you look at the trees, you can't see the forest. You can't, the trees, the details, and the big thing. Well, no matter what you're doing, no matter what the style is, The fact of the matter is that what is the big thing? Oh, I'm making a big expansive movement. Where you could go, that's the big thing. But then you also go, oh, but are my shoulders exactly right? Or I forget the movement as I'm going, where am I doing my hands, my arms, my shoulders, something else. Always try and have a sense of the big picture as well as the small picture at the same time. Obviously, the details will make a huge difference, but they should only make a difference if they improve the overall big picture. Not just the details for their own sake, because that can get kind of crazy after a while. Now, the other thing is this. There's a very big difference between Tai Chi and many forms of what in the West we call meditation. What's commonly done in meditation, many forms of meditation, you see these pictures, these images, and you stay focused on them. And you can see this when you see people doing Tai Chi. They're not actually feeling their body. When Tai Chi, you feel your body. And if you're going to visualize, you must also feel your body. You must never not feel your body, but visualize what you're doing. And you can see this. It makes a type of disassociation. So for example, I hope you can see this with my eyes. When I'm doing this now, I'm looking and I'm feeling my body. I'm feeling my body. I'm feeling my body. Or I can do it this way. I'll just do a different movement. I can be seeing myself doing this form, but I'm not really feeling my body. I'm seeing a picture of somebody doing it. Maybe that somebody's me, maybe it's somebody else. Kind of hard to tell at times. But doing a movement so that you're just kind of out there and you're visualizing it is not the same thing as completely feeling what's happening inside yourself. And if you can visualize the inside of your body as you're feeling it, then it's fine. But if you only can visualize the inside of your body but not feel it, that's not fine. And what's worse of the all three is that you don't feel your body at all, but you visualize yourself like you're out here somewhere. For that, you might as well just get one of these brainwave goggles, let the lights flash, and listen to the sounds. Because that's purely a brain operation. It's not a brain operation. It's integrating with all the flesh of your body. So I think all of these together are big, very, very common mistakes that people make doing Tai Chi. So let's look at some things for beginners about how to protect your knees in Tai Chi. A few points. The first one is that many people watch a teacher and they see them go very low and they think they should go very low. And there can be problems with this. And I'll take a conversation I had with Feng Zhichang just before he died. He was the head of Tai Chi of all of China. He was one of my teachers, the main Chen style person in China. And we had the conversation in Chinese, so there weren't miscommunication problems. One thing is that don't go too low. Lots of people hurt themselves because they do forms. For example, they do the yang form or something like that, and they go like this. And they get down here. And they get lower, or they get lower than this. They start doing their form way down here. Now, if you're very, very, very thin, that may be okay. But if you're not super thin, or you go even lower to where you get your hips almost even with your butt, or then maybe your knees start sticking out, people get their knees hurt. Westerners especially don't have great knees. They don't have ligaments as big as Orientals. We eat meat, which creates uric acid, which affects the knees. And even then, the thing that Feng Zhichang was having this conversation with me about is that one of the points he disagreed about the way a lot of the Tai Chi was done with the Chen village people, and I remember having the same conversation with him, almost 30 years ago, was that they go way too low. They go way down here. And he made the point of this, that going low is fine as long as the going down, the opening up of the pelvis in the perineum, the chi goes through your legs all the way to your feet and it causes no strain whatsoever. Because if it doesn't go all the way through, the only way you can go low is to be radically pulling on the ligaments in the cartilage in your knee. And that causes people to get hurt. And that's the reason why people hurt their knees in skiing, they hurt their knees in running. The knee joint is only meant to take so much. So his biggest thing was that no matter what the stance, the perineum has to be open And it has to be comfortable. This dropping of everything through your legs to your feet has to be comfortable, not as a strain. Now, one of the reasons why this probably did happen a lot in the Chin village is if you actually look at most of the people from the Chin village, especially when they were younger, they were really thin. Really, really, really thin. The bigger and heavier you get problems. Myself personally, one of the reasons why I didn't teach the Chin style when I came back to the West, and Feng wanted me to, and frankly speaking, I was up for it myself, was that I saw how many people's knees were getting hurt from it. Their knees and their back simply because they were putting more pressure on their body because it looks nice. It looks nice. The trouble is it causes pressure, and it's the danger of the possible cumulative pressure. Now, if it doesn't hurt your body, fine. But I think it's something you should at least be aware of so that you can make sure that you mitigate any possible damages that might occur. And you may never get hurt, but then again, you may. So just be aware of this and make sure that if you don't feel, don't go any lower. Don't go any lower that you can feel your body's dropping through your hips to your feet without feeling pressure in your knees. Because usually people who hurt their knees doing Tai Chi, it happens over a long period of time. Now, part of this is that the perineum, this area underneath here, has to really be open. And what that will do is that will also really open up your pelvis so that all the tiny little moving parts in your pelvis, and you actually have a lot of them, that none of them are overly squashed. And that's good. Now, part of this is also making sure to not have your stance, which we covered, being too long. Don't make it too wide either. Because as you start going, for example, on your back leg, when your stance gets too wide, this makes it very difficult for your knees not to take pressure. And it's a reason why, when the legs are too wide, that many people cannot fully sit on their back leg. And you want to be able to fully sit on your back leg rather than be in a longer stance and only maybe be able to get here. So those are things. Now, in pushing hands, all these problems of the hips not dropping, stance being too wide or too narrow, comes up because when you have to take a lot of pressure coming into you, if it doesn't move through your legs, it's going to land in your knees. The other big problem that happens in pushing hands is that people let their knees collapse inward. And when you go back this way on a knee like that, it very easily becomes just like someone is putting you in an armbar. Over time, that starts causing pressure and then pulling on the ligaments and the muscles and the tendons that are attached to your elbows. And that's also what causes people to get their elbows and their shoulders hurt. You had the same exact problem parallel to it with wrestlers and judo players about why their shoulders and elbows always get hurt from what they do. It's the exact same cause. I mean, the exact way they got it was different, but if you talk about the cause and the effects, they were essentially the same. So anyway, with all of that, keep these things in mind because I think it's really great that you don't hurt your knees. I think it's great that you have healthy knees and happy knees because we use our knees to walk around and do almost everything. Thank you very much. So now we're going to look at how to relax in Tai Chi. Now in truth, this is a bit like the Holy Grail. This would be the equivalent of many religions of how do I be totally holy? Or how do I become enlightened? Or if you're into money, how do I become a multi-billionaire? It's not exactly a simple answer. But when we look at relaxation, at least in the early stages of Tai Chi, you have three things you have to relax. You have to relax your body, you have to relax your energy, and you have to relax your mind. So you got these three. Now, when it comes to the body, simple stuff is that you've got to get the strength, the tension of your upper body to drop into your lower body. So I'm now going to play theater. This is not normally what I do, but I'll exaggerate this in the hope that it's understandable. So the exaggeration has to go from extreme tension to what it means to relax. So, for example, this is a posture in the Wu style, and then I'll do it again in the Yang style. It's the same thing. So, okay, so you're like this. So forget about this is more or less what the posture is. But now, that you could call that tense. That's a tense chest. So wait a second. So you have to learn. You have to let your chest relax. It means it has to fall downward. And if it falls downward, your hands go out and your hands become soft and your hands become they're not I'm holding my hands and I'm getting attention. So you have to let go your body, but this isn't enough. Then it's like, oh my God, my shoulders are kind of, and I have to let my shoulders drop down. And the chest has to drop, and with it the ribs. And then the waist has to drop. And it's got to really drop until it ends up in your hips. And then your hips have to drop down, and as that drops down, your legs relax and they can open up. Until finally you get all the way to the bottom of your feet, then you have to relax the bottom of your feet. Until you just have one point on your foot that has some sense of tension or strength, because somebody's got to hold you onto the ground. So that's relaxing your body. Or if you're doing Yang style, it's the same thing. I mean, how many times have I seen this in my life? Things are nice and easy, nice and loose. Nice and soft, nice and relaxed. Not like it's an iron bar, but nice and relaxed. Now, you do that, and that's your body. And that's where all the alignments, one thing about all the alignments show you whether you're tense or you're relaxed. To do an alignment properly requires your body to be relaxed, and you simply can't get into them. It's quite impossible. But then we go to the next stage, it's your energy. So, okay, so your energy is moving forward, and it's doing something, and it's coming back. But yet it can be that your mind and your energy is a bit like vibrating, and like, you don't want that. You want it to be completely smooth so that your mind is just moving through you and moving out. And as your mind is moving through your body and out, you're having the sense of your energy, which is invisible, that it's softening, becoming very easy, very relaxed. What is it? Don't worry, be happy. Everything is okay. It's all right. There's no problem with anything in the world. Woman. Because if there is a problem, then you hold it back and you have to push to get it out. Where if there's nothing, you just, when you let it out, it goes out. Then you have your mind. Well, you're looking. Your mind can be kind of, your eyes, you can see it in the beginning with your ordinary spirit, your jinshin, and you're pushing at it. But then there's also just the fact that your mind starts relaxing, and it just encompasses the entire space. So it's in everything that you can see all at once. And that includes your body, all at once. There's no part of it that's not there. So that anything that's off is recognized. As opposed to, oh, I recognize this, but lost it, lost my feet, lost my back. It's my mind going forward. This part of my mind is fine, but the rest of it's gone to lunch. No. The more you relax your mind, everything is in it at once. It's all there simultaneously. So this is relaxation in Tai Chi. First your body, then your energy, then your spirit. Or what's called in the classic Taoist framework, Jing Qi Shen. Body, energy, spirit. So now we're going to look at getting your chi to flow better in Tai Chi, or at least what a beginner wants to do, because there are many, many methods to get your chi to flow better. To try and reduce it to a couple is like, kind of like taking one book out of the Library of Congress and thinking that's the whole thing. But anyway, if we look from a very beginning point of view, the first thing to get your chi to flow better is a very simple principle. In Chinese, there's a term that's called Ti Xiong, which means your chest rises. That's a rising chest. And then there's Han Xiong, to where your chest drops and hollows. What this does is allow the chi of your upper body to drop into your abdomen, fill your internal organs, and begin to fill your lower dantian, where your main energy center is. So the first thing is to release your upper body strength. So rather than the idea that if I was, again, to do theater with this, it has to be, let all your upper body strength drop out of your arms, go down to your feet. So it's actually the energy in your legs and your belly that comes out your hand. It's not the energy of your arm, not the energy of your hand. So that's one thing, because that allows chi to flow better. So it's important to have the chi come from your lower body and not from your upper. The second thing, if you want your chi to flow better, is you need to soften your breath. You need to make your breath first, obviously. You don't want it to be gross like you're kind of going. You don't want anything like that. Or even, you want your breath to become so soft that if someone were to put their finger in front of your nose, it would be as though you were dead. But yet you're still getting a very clean stream in and out. Part of this, the breath has a feeling. It has a feeling. And that's a very hard thing to describe. I mean, some things you can feel them or not. But that feeling has to become progressively more and more soft. The softer that feeling of the breath gets, eventually, the more your qi will begin to flow. The next thing is the mind has to sink to the lower dandian, or as the Chinese say, yi chen dandian. Most of us, our mind, our thoughts, right? What we see, we come out of our head. Now here instead, you're going to do something where you're going to let your head empty. You're going to let the energy of your head empty and just start coming down your body, down the middle of it to your lower dandian, until you literally don't have the sense of seeing from your eyes. You don't have the sense of seeing from your brain. You see from your belly, almost as though it's a periscope. And that whole body way of feeling, your qi down there starts producing something different. The sense of having your qi drop to here, sink to here, and then seeing from out of there and everything from there moving into your body. Because another way of looking at relaxation or qi is that the more relaxed your qi gets, the more your body will get relaxed. Also, the same is true. The more you make your body relaxed, the more your qi will relax. So they're linked in this cycle of each one mutually reinforces the other.
In this video, I want to share more with you about one Neigong principle, opening and closing, but also just touch a little bit on some of the other ones, because these are aspects of Qigong and that are very often not taught within Tai Chi, but they were taught originally in Tai Chi. Now, classically, there were two ways Qi was taught in Tai Chi. If you were with a master, they would show you within the moves of Tai Chi, they would take one little Qi thing and take 3, 4, 5 moves, very often just from the beginning of Tai Chi, commencement through the single whip. And they would say, keep doing it, focusing on this. And, or else they would have you stand in a posture. And you would stand in this for 20 minutes, half an hour, and they would tell you to focus on doing this one thing internally. But that usually required that students be near a teacher and be seeing him several times a week, and it also required students that when the teacher said, now you do this and you stay in the corner for the next hour till you can do it, that kind of went in time and people's discipline got less. So what's the other thing that happened? Learning how to do all these Qi things within a form is difficult because you're also doing the physical movements and so many things are happening. And then it started coming up, people said, well, I'll tell you what, we're just going to show you a Qigong set, something with a few movements that's going to have this principle, and then you feed it into your Tai Chi. Now, if you talk about openings and closings or lengthenings in the body, at least in what I teach, the marriage of heaven and earth is a Qigong set that does that. And that'll be included in the training circle. But the fact of the matter is that you also can learn this stuff within Tai Chi, and very often I'll be attempting to show this. Now, if we go through what's in general run-of-the-mill Tai Chi, well, everyone's going to tell you to relax, okay? And if it's a good Tai Chi school, they're going to tell you that at least your hand should be some distance away from your body and not kind of collapsed in and shrunken. But if you then go, if we would just take something like here, I'll take a very, very common move. Let's see if you were just going to look at this brush knee and twist step. Well, some people will just say, okay, you're going to want to just try and get your arm and your waist to move together. Then it's going to be, okay, wait a second. Now you want to get alignments, which means your knees aren't collapsed. They're going to be out. Your shoulder's going to be down. Your elbows are going to be down rather than just kind of out this way. Your neck's not going to be crunched in. And those are external alignments. But then as it starts going further, they're going to teach you, well, wait a second. There's these other principles in Tai Chi. For example, Yang Chen Fu's 10 principles are going to say sink the chest, open up the back. And then they're going to start getting very technical about, well, how do you release your chest? How do you sink your ribs? How do you get your spine to raise up as you raise your back and drop your chest? There's going to be a lot of technical things. The opening and closing, a lot of people get confused because they think opening and closing is what in Chinese is called bend and stretch. And that's bending and stretching. And normally it starts with an opening isn't just in the joints, and that's a closing. It's an opening. The joints open up. It's a closing. The joints get smaller. They condense. But then it moves later on into you do that with internal organs. You do that with blood vessels. And you can actually, by the action of a closing, move the fluids. And the opening and closing, you can move fluids in your body one way or the other, which obviously you can't just see by looking at something. And as a matter of fact, I'm not even sure if science has the measuring devices that can do it, but I hope they do. And if they do, I hope one day that they stick me in a lab and I can show them this is within normal human capacity. It's not a weirdness. Now, if I was to just make an example, we just take the movements, just Peng Lu Jian. I'll just take a few simple movements here. So in the new Yang style, your hand, this would be Peng, right? In the old Yang style, it'll be here. But since I'm doing the old Yang style, I'll do the old Yang style. Here now, open. Your joints are opening. And this means every joint in your body. Now, your joints are closing. You're not just bending your arms. Your joints are closing, and that's leading the motion of your arm. It's closing, or you could say shrinking if you wanted to. Then you're going to open, and your joints are going to grow. Then they're going to close. Then they're going to open. Then they're going to open some more. Then they're going to close. Then they're going to open. Then they're going to close. Then they're going to open. Then they're going to close. So it's not just that you're going to be going, and I'm just relaxing my arms, and that's okay, and that's it, and I'm just getting relaxed. Hey, don't knock it. It's a really big thing. But when you start talking about internal energy flow, I'm not doing opening and closings now. I'm just relaxing, and I'm letting my body naturally bend and stretch. But that is not the same thing as and you can almost watch my body expanding slightly and contracting. Or shrinking, actually. Contracting is the wrong word. And you're opening. You're closing. Opening with the lift. Opening. Closing as you do on. So that is an example of opening and closing. But those things happen in every single move in a Tai Chi form. Just as while you're doing it, your arms could be twisting in or out, or you could be moving energy along the yang meridians and along the yin meridians, and so many other things. Well, why should you care if your body can open and close? I'm going to put this in a different way. Why should you care if your internal organs get stuck? If your internal organs, if they're easily always opening and closing, they become healthy. When they can open but they can't close, or they can close and they can't open, disease starts following it. For example, the whole subject of visceral osteopathy, you can read books on this subject and the 1,001 disease it brings upon you. But even without diseases, do you want power in your body? Now, let's look at this issue of power. You can trip out a little bit by thinking megalomaniac. And that actually, not to say that some people doing Tai Chi didn't become megalomaniacs, but you need a certain amount of power to digest food. This is doing everything to your liver and your spleen and your organs that's enabling you to digest food. You need power to make blood move through your system. Well, when you open your joints and all the fluids and you close down, when you open up, it shoots blood. It makes your blood vessels go like this. When you close, it makes them compress. If you do it where you're going out and you're opening, it takes blood from your heart to your extremities. If you close coming in, it brings blood from your extremities back to your heart. Is this useful? You could talk to any doctor and he'd be more than happy to tell you why, if you can't do those things, you get heart attacks. If you then start looking at you just want to have strength to do anything, When these fluids in your body move, the fluids in your joints, blood, lymph, the fluid that moves between your cells, to the degree to which they can open and close and those fluids move with more power, you have more vitality, you have greater mental alertness. And if you want to use it for, where you have to project power either in some kind of sport or something, you get more of it. If you can really open up your joint when you hit someone, all of a sudden you watch them go to sleep. But if you hit them and you don't, then you watch them stumble, but they stay awake. You could look at it as simple things like that. So opening and closings goes right down to the cellular level. This is what your cells are doing all the time. They're coming into each other, going away. So what you're trying to do is influence one of the primary rhythms, internal rhythms of the body. That everything that makes a body a joy to have does it well, and everything that makes a body a misery to have does it poorly. That's why you should care about openings and closings. Tai Chi is a circle. The beginning is the end is the beginning. As you keep on going around the circle, you just develop what was right from the very beginning, deeper and deeper and more. So if we just look at the first movement of Tai Chi, which is called commencement, you could do this purely by, okay, let's just get our arms to go up and get our arms to go out and get them to come in and get them to go down. That's fine. But then you also might be looking at, well, when you start, your joints want to open. They want to open more. Your joints want to close. They want to close more. Then you might look at it that your arms want to twist out when you're rising up. That's twisting out this way, and then they want to twist out this way. Then they want to twist in, then they want to twist out. You could be looking at, as I come up, I want to get the energy to come out along the yang surfaces of my body. And as I go in, I want the energy to come in the yin surfaces of my body. And you have all sorts of things. Then if you look at the four energies in commencement, what you have is very simple. Your hand is first raising. As your hand is first raising, you're expanding energy. That's pung. The next movement, when your hands come together and the energy of both your pungs come together and triangulate into the center, you're doing the movement G, or press forward. Then when your hands come back and you're absorbing energy into your body, that's Liu, or roll back. And then when your hands press down and push the energy down your body and you're pressing everything below the floor, that's called An. And in every move in Tai Chi, no matter what it is, you're still going to have this Peng Lu Jian. For example, if I was here, this is An, or it could be Peng expanding downward. As your hand rises up, that's Peng. As your hand comes over to here, that's Liu, as you draw energy into you. As you go forward, that's Ji, and as your hand goes down, that's An. And then you have it with both hands, and you have in every single movement, in every mini part of the movement, you have whether you're doing Peng, Liu, Ji, and An in it. This is, for example, this is Peng. This is two Ans coming together. This is Liu, and then this is An going down. And that's Peng. As you come here, this is An, and that Peng and An meet. Then they come in and they form Bao, which is a Peng going in all directions. Then you come forward and that's Ji, and then both hands do An into the ground. But again, this is stuff that in most Tai Chi forms is not made explicit. In the old Yang form it was. Later on it just became, well, just make sure that your movements are more or less doing what Peng, Liu, Ji, and An want to do, and that's where it got left off. Or if you were doing things in the Yang family, New Yang, they would tell you about closing from your center, and they would really talk about opening and closings, and they would talk about the twistings, and they would be talking about Peng, Liu, Ji, and An. But then when you got away from the New Yang and the direct people who learn with the Yang, so the Yang family itself, this stuff just it got lost in the shuffle, and it became a lot about movement, or just kind of softening and getting your intent. So it all depends upon what degree, you're having what the original material was. In some cases, you have more of it. In some, you have less of it. It's like you have a library of 100 books. One library's got 100 books. One library, okay, let's take these 30 and throw them away. We got 7. Let's take another 40, throw it away. We got these left. And that's how Tai Chi changed over time. All I'm trying to do is just show what the original library was. Now, if we look at Neigong, there's 16 Neigong, and there's a lot of things in it. But you can have alignments, you can have opening and closings. Well, where exactly? You have to just understand this one thing. You could have a long closing and a very short opening, or you could have a long opening and a short closing, or you could have them be fairly even, half closing, half opening. And these are where you start getting into openings and closing. You can see it probably the most easiest in the movement, play the lute. You can actually see your arms are expanding, that's pung, that's opening, and then they both close. And that's, in the move you're breaking somebody's arm. But the fact of the matter is that you have a closing, you have a condensing, and then that, again, as soon as that closing is over, it moves into an opening. So you have this constant alternation between opening and closing in the form. So let's now look at Yang Cheng Fu's 10 principles. Well, if you're looking at Yang Cheng Fu's thing and you're going like this, and you're doing the first movement, okay, or you're doing it, for example, how Yang Cheng Fu would probably do it, which would be more like this. My head is basically straight, but people do it, can do it, do it. And Yang Cheng Fu was saying, don't do that. They could be doing this. Well, that's not a straight head. Your head's bouncing all over the place. Or it could be going to the side, or it could be just collapsing into your shoulders. Where he's talking about the neck, the head is straight. The neck is rising so that your head is up straight. Or you could be looking at, let's say, the next one of the correct position of the chest and back, Hanxiong Ba Bei. Well, a lot of people might do this like this, and you'll see this in Tai Chi classes all over the place, or people doing Tai Chi in a park. If they've only watched somebody as opposed to they've been taught how to do it. Chest is out, and they come back and they do it like this. It's the weightlifter special. Whereas he was talking about the fact that as your hands move, your back rises, your chest hollows. Now, this is a hollowing. And why do you hollow your chest? So everything drops into your belly. So that then when you move like this, chi comes down from your face and moves from your chest down to your lower dantian without getting stuck anywhere. You have another one, for example, relaxation of the waist. Well, commencement is not the best one to show it in, but maybe pung might be a better one. If you're talking about relaxation of the waist, you'll get people who will they'll turn, but then their waist will kind of collapse. Well, if it's relaxed, it actually lengthens out. The waist actually relaxes and stretches to its natural size, as opposed to it tenses or it collapses and it shrinks. So that would have to be, if you did it, your waist. Relaxing means to open in Tai Chi language. And that opening means that it's not compressed, but it's actually up and down. And you've got all sorts of other things, Anyway, there's 10 of them. Now, if you put all these things together we've been talking about, Yang Cheng Fu's 10 principles, the Nei Gong, all the various technical points, this is what gives Tai Chi its power. And remember, it's not just power in the sense that I can, pick King Kong up. It's the power for you to have life inside you, to be healthy, to be strong, to be mentally clear. And then if you want to do the training to make yourself very physically powerful, you can do that. But it's a physical power that's not coming from muscle resistance. It's a physical power that's coming from getting all the yin-yang components of your body to work against each other, to work with each other and against each other in opposite directions. And that's why the yin-yang symbol is so important in Tai Chi. because they take everything that's in the body, its yin and its yang side. Well, what's the relationship? What do you do with it? And that's where it comes from.